it go.
Just want to start today with a trigger warning disclaimer. This podcast contains descriptions of death and drowning. Hi, I'm Katie Carpenter.
I'm Terry Kovanitz.
We apologize for any and all mistakes today as we begin this episode of Titanic Transcripts.
The witness was sworn by the chairman. Will you give your full name to the reporter?
Harold Godfrey Lowe.
I would like to have you turn your chair so you are facing the reporter.
I am facing you, sir.
Turn your chair so you'll be looking directly at the reporter. Now, where do you reside?
In North Wales.
And how old are you?
29 in the fall of the year, sir.
What is your business?
I'm a seaman.
How long have you been engaged in that business?
14 years.
What experience have you had?
I suppose I've had experience with pretty well every ship afloat, the different classes of ships afloat, from the schooner to the square-rigged sailing vessel, and from that to steamships, and all sizes.
So you've been employed on sailing vessels?
In pretty much every branch of the mercantile marine.
Describe, if you will, the general nature of your employment as a mariner, beginning with your first experience.
As a sailor?
Yes, sir. I would like to get on the record, Mr. Lowe, your full experience.
It will be very long, sir.
Well, make it as brief as you can.
I ran away from home when I was about 14, and I went into a schooner. I was in 7 schooners altogether, and my father wanted to apprentice me, but I said I would not be apprenticed, that I was not going to work for anybody for nothing, without any money, and that I wanted to be paid for my labor. That was previous to my running away. He took me to Liverpool, and to a lot of offices there, and I told him once and for all that I meant what I said. I said, I'm not going to be apprenticed, and that settles it. So of course I ran away and went on these schooners, and from there I went to square-rigged sailing ships, and from there to steam, and got all my certificates, and then I was there for 5 years on the West African coast in the service there, and from there I joined the White Star Line.
And when did you join the White Star Line?
About 15 months ago, sir.
And what was the nature of your employment with them?
I was a junior officer.
On what ship?
I was 3rd on the Tropic, and I was 3rd on the Belgic, and then I was sent to the Titanic.
On what routes? What were the routes?
The Australian voyage, the 2 previous voyages.
Have you ever been in the North Atlantic before?
Never. It was about the only place I'd never been before.
When did you join the Titanic?
I joined the Titanic on April 21st in Belfast. March 21st, I believe, in Belfast.
Were you present at the trial test in Belfast, Lowe?
Yes, sir.
Of the Titanic?
Yes, sir, I was.
What service did you render during those tests?
Well, my service, sir, was pretty well general, to do anything we were told to do.
Tell me, if you can, what you did do.
Worked out the odds and ends, and then submitted them to the senior officer. We are there to do the navigating part, so the senior officer can be and shall be in full charge of the bridge, and have nothing to worry his head about. We have all that, the junior officers. There are 4 of us. The 3 seniors are in absolute charge of the boat. They have nothing to worry themselves about. They simply have to walk backward and forward and look after the ship, and we do all the figuring and that sort of thing in our chart room.
What did you do that day, if you can tell?
What day?
What part did you take or have that day to do on that day with the tests and making the tests?
I could no more tell you now than fly.
Now, I will ask you specifically whether you assisted in making any tests of the lifeboats.
We overhauled them.
In what way?
Mr. Moody and myself, and Mr. Pittman and Mr. Boxhall took the port boat. That is, I took the starboard and they took the port, and we overhauled them. That is to say, we counted the oars, the rowlocks, the thole pins, whichever you like to call them, and saw there was a mast and sail, rigging, gear, and everything else that fitted in the boats and plugs, and also that the biscuit tank was all right, and that there were 2 breakers in the boat, 2 bailers, 2 plugs, and the steering rowlock. That is, the rowlock for the oar that you ship aft when there is a heavy sea running, because you cannot steer by rudder when there is a heavy sea running. And you put an oar over, and you have a greater command over an oar and can put more power on it. Everything was absolutely correct with the exception of 1 dipper. A dipper is a long, thin can about that length and about that diameter, 1.25 inches diameter. And you dip it down into the water beaker and draw the water. That was the only thing that was short out of our boats, and our boats were respectively number 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, and 15. From 1 to 15 odd numbers. Then the even numbers were on the other side, that is, on the port side of the ship.
1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11 were on the starboard side or the port side?
1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, and 15 were on the starboard side, sir, and everything was absolutely correct.
Did you personally examine every lifeboat?
I did, sir.
And every collapsible?
Yes, sir. Every collapsible as well, also. I should have mentioned them, but those were the boats I mentioned. We do not deem the collapsibles as boats.
You do not deem them as lifeboats?
These are the full lifeboats.
That is the numbers you've given?
Yes, sir. They are the outside boats, the boats that hang on the ship's side. Then there are 2 collapsibles on each side, 2 on port and 2 on starboard, and we examined them. I could not quote from memory what we found in them, but we found 14 oars, and anyhow, a set and a half of oars on one set of rowlocks. That is, if there were 6 rowlocks, there were 9 oars in case of emergency. If an oar got broke, there was another extra oar to replace that oar, and then there were some spare ones, that is, 1.5 sets. If there were 12 oars in one boat, it was fully equipped. There would be 18 oars altogether, 6 extras, and dippers and everything else. Everything was absolutely correct. I will swear to that.
You have detailed the equipment of a lifeboat as prescribed by the British Board of Trade Regulations, have you?
I can if you wish me to.
Have you done it already?
I mean, yes, pretty well.
Have you included everything?
There's a compass.
Any lights?
A light, and oil to burn for 8 hours, biscuits and water. That's all I can think at present.
All these things that you have mentioned are part of the equipment demanded by the British Board of Trade?
Yes, sir. We went around those boats. We arrived there about noon on this 23rd in Belfast, and on the 24th we went around and everything, taking stock of everything on board the ship, and also noting the condition of these things. We took the starboard lifeboats, and the other junior officers took the port.
Now, Mr. Lowe, this inspection that you made was on the 23rd and the 24th?
On the 23rd only, sir.
When did the Titanic leave Belfast for Southampton?
That is more than I can tell you. We left Liverpool on a Tuesday, we arrived on a Wednesday, and we inspected the boat on a Thursday. I think we left the following Tuesday for Southampton. No, we ran around the Lowe and afterwards proceeded for Southampton, actually.
The 23rd of March was on a Saturday?
Saturday? Then we were a bit mixed. Oh, it was the 26th that I left Liverpool, and I joined the Titanic on the 27th. Excuse me. I think you'll find that correct. I distinctly remember now I received a telegram from the superintendent, word to the effect that I was to report to the office at 9 o'clock on the morning of the 26th.
No, you left Liverpool on the 26th.
Well, on the 26th, that is the night of the 26th. You see, we had to call there for the ticket, and then we went over by night, and we arrived in Belfast the next morning at noon.
Now, let us get it just as it is. You left Liverpool.
We left Liverpool at 10 o'clock p.m. on the 26th.
And reached Belfast.
We reached Belfast about noon on the 27th.
And did you go aboard ship immediately?
We went straight aboard, sir, and reported ourselves to the chief officer.
When did the trial test begin?
I think it was a Tuesday.
The following Tuesday?
Yes.
That would be April 2nd.
I do not know, sir. I suppose it would be if you say so.
Well, look it up yourself. You are testifying. I am not testifying.
We did not get any special notice of these things.
I'm not criticizing you.
We have not started our voyage yet.
I'm not criticizing you. I simply want to know when you first saw this ship.
March 2nd was a Tuesday, sir.
April 2nd, you mean. Let us get this just as you want it to appear in the record. You left Liverpool on the 26th.
Yes, at 10 o'clock p.m.
And joined the Titanic at noon on the following day, the 27th.
Yes, sir.
When were the trial tests made?
They were due, I think, to be made on Monday, but there was a bit of a breeze, and we had to postpone it because of the breeze. It was a squall, in fact.
So the trial test did not take place on April 1st?
No, sir.
Monday, that would be. They did not take place then?
No.
And they were postponed because there was a bit of a breeze?
Yes, because there was danger in getting them off the wharf, you see.
Off the wharf?
Yes.
Well, when did this test take place?
It took place the following day.
On Tuesday, April 2nd?
Yes, on Tuesday.
In Belfast, Lowe.
In Belfast, Lowe, yes, sir. We steamed down. After we had done a few turns and twists, we steamed down 2 hours. I really forget the names of the lightships now because I don't know that coast, but roughly we went out 2 hours on the outward passage, and then it took us the same time naturally to come back in again. That means 4 hours total steaming. We did take a few extra twists and turns and then came back again.
And how long did that take?
Well, we left, I believe, at 2 o'clock, and we anchored somewhere about 6:30 that evening. Altogether, the twists and turns took a half an hour, and the steaming, maneuvering the ship, testing her, and all that. That's what I mean by twists and turns.
Exactly. This is what I understood. During this test, was her speed tested?
No, she was not really put to it. She has not been put to it yet.
And never will be.
Never will be.
You do not know how fast she could have gone?
Well, I reckon she could easily do 24 or 25 knots.
Do you know how many boilers were working the day the tests were made?
No, sir, I do not, because that's outside of our sphere altogether. We have nothing whatever to do with them. We have our own business, and we attend to it. We look after it and attend to nobody else's.
Have you any idea yourself of the speed that boat made during the trial tests?
I believe, but I'm not sure, that it was about 20 and a half or 21. I do not know, of course. I will not guarantee that what I state there is correct or true, but I state it to the best of my ability, that it was between 20 and a half and 21 knots. That is what she made.
Do you know how many revolutions it would require to attain that speed?
No. We were working out a slip table, and we had not quite finished when she went down. All of us were on, working out a slip table, about how many turns of the engine it would require to do so many knots and all this, and it tapered down.
That was not worked out by anyone, so far as you know?
No, it was not.
If it had been, would you have known it?
Certainly we would, because it would be in the chart room.
When the maximum speed was obtained in the trial tests, was the ship in the open sea?
Yes, between the heads. I think it is Copeland Point, or Copeland Head. Between, I think that, mind you, I do not say that it is, but I think it was Black Rock Lightship, somewhere between, because I do not know the coast.
I do not ask you to guess at anything. I just ask if you know.
I just state to the best of my knowledge.
When the turns or circles were made, were they made in the open sea or were they made inside?
Just inside, under the Copeland.
Were there any turns except...
There was only one turn in the open sea, and that was when we were reversing our course, or when we were turning to make the return journey.
Did you see any of the officers or directors of the White Star Line or the International Company aboard the Titanic when the tests were being made?
No, sir, I did not. Anyhow, I would not know them if I did.
Then you did not see them, of course. You did not know them and could not tell.
Because I'm a stranger.
You do not know any of them?
No, sir.
So far as you know, were any of them aboard? Did you hear that any of them were aboard in the trial tests?
I was told that Mr. Ismay was on board, and 2 or 3 more, but I do not know who they were, and some of them Messrs. Harlan and Wolf's people.
They were the builders?
Yes.
Was Mr. Andrews on board?
Yes, he was on board.
Did you see him?
He was pointed out to me.
Who was Mr. Andrews?
As far as I understand, the working head of Harlan and Wolf.
The builders. He represented the builders of the ship?
Yes.
Did he make the voyage with the ship from Southampton?
Yes.
Did he survive the catastrophe?
No.
Was there any representative of the British Board of Trade on the Titanic during these trial tests?
I cannot say, sir. I do not know because we had nothing to do with it.
You did not understand that there was from anyone?
Even if there was, they would not come and tell me.
Exactly. But, I mean, did you understand that there was any representative of the British Board of Trade aboard? Did you hear it from anyone?
No, sir. You must understand.
That's enough. That's enough. I do not ask you to elaborate it. After these trial tests that took about 4 hours, where did the ship go?
She anchored in Belfast, Lowe.
And how long did you remain there?
As near as I could tell, half an hour or 3/4 of an hour.
And then what happened?
We sent all workmen ashore by tender to Belfast, and then, after sending all the workmen ashore by tender, we proceeded on our way to Southampton.
That is, these were the workmen of the Harland and Wolff Company?
Yes.
And then what did you do?
We went down to Southampton.
And when did you reach Southampton?
We reached Southampton, I do not know just when. Anyhow, it was in the night, sir. I do not know of what day.
What night?
I could not tell you, sir. I do not remember.
What night with reference to your sailing from Southampton? The night you sailed?
That would be about 30 hours, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights.
So you reached Southampton on Thursday night about midnight.
Yes.
Did you anchor or did you go to the wharf?
We went right up to the wharf.
Did you remain on the ship?
Yes, sir.
Were you on duty that night?
I was on duty that day, sir. That is from 9:30.
In the morning?
Yes, a.m. until 5:30 p.m.
And you were not on duty when the boat reached the wharf?
I was not on duty from the time the Titanic was taken out. It was taken in tow at 9:30 that morning, and I was below.
And this was Thursday night, midnight?
Yes.
When did the ship sail from Southampton for New York?
It sailed at noon on the 10th instant.
Between Thursday, April 4th, and Friday morning, April 5th, and Wednesday noon, April 10th, were you aboard ship performing your duties?
We were always on board performing our duties. That is, when our watch is on.
Exactly. And you did your work while the boat was at Southampton?
Yes.
During that time you were doing your work, did you have anything to do with drilling the men?
In what way, sir?
Did you have fire drill or other practice while you were at Southampton?
Well, we had it once, but I really forget where.
You had it once at Belfast before leaving?
I do not know. I do not know, sir. We had it somewhere or other.
Once?
Where, I cannot say.
You cannot say whether it was at Belfast or at Southampton?
No, sir. I cannot remember.
Was it at one or the other of these places?
I do not know, certainly.
That is, it was not on the voyage.
It was not after we left Southampton.
It was not after you left Southampton. Of what did this drill consist?
It consists of...
No, not what it consists of. What did the drill consist of?
Well, you must muster your boat's crew.
Go ahead.
And see that everything is all right, see that everything is going in order, and then you report to the officer that is going the rounds, and he reports again to the chief officer, and then the chief officer reports to the commander of the ship.
In the performance of that service, does each officer have a station?
Yes, sir.
And what was your station?
My station was number 11 boat.
Which side of the ship?
That would be the starboard side.
What other officers were on the starboard side?
I did not know, sir.
Do you know any of the other officers at that time?
I was a total stranger in the ship and also to the run.
Is that the reason why you were unable to tell who the officers were on the starboard side at their respective stations?
I did not know, sir. I suppose it would have something to do with it.
Are you able to say that the officers were at their respective stations?
When, sir?
At the time of this drill or inspection.
Well, certainly they were, sir.
What was done at that drill? Were any of the lifeboats lowered?
I was lowered away and sent around the dock. No, let me see now. This was at Southampton?
At Southampton.
After the general muster at 8:30, on the 10th that was, we manned 2 boats. Mr. Moody, the 6th officer, and myself.
On which side of the ship?
On the starboard side, because you must remember that we were laying alongside a wharf now.
Exactly. I wanted you to say that.
And when we were sent away in 2 boats with 2 crews, naturally, we turned around the dock in a row and then came back and got hoisted up.
About how long were you gone?
I should say 20 minutes to a half an hour.
What else was done? Did that constitute the practice or drill?
There is not only practice in the rowing of the boats, but there is also a practice in the lowering away and clearing.
And altogether it took about half an hour?
No, sir. Well, sir, yes, it would take about a half an hour hoisting and lowering.
What else was done that day?
Well, we sailed, you know, and it was about 9 o'clock in the morning now.
Yes, all right.
And we've got lots of other things to do.
Exactly. That was all the drill consisted of.
We were lowered down in the boats with a boat's crew. The boats were manned, and we rowed around a couple of turns, and then came back, and we were hoisted up and had breakfast, and then we went about our duties.
Now, will you answer me, please? Your drill or practice consisted of lowering 2 lifeboats on the starboard side and rowing about in them and returning them to position, which took altogether about half an hour?
Half an hour, quite correct, sir.
Now, is that correct?
Quite.
Were there any other boats, lifeboats, or collapsible boats lowered on the starboard side that morning?
No, only the 2.
So that the drill consisted in doing what you have described?
Yes.
Mr. Lowe, if I correctly understood you, no other drill took place after that morning. The Titanic departed about midday until the accident happened.
No drill took place from the time of departure until the time of the disaster.
Are you able to say definitely now that no fire drill took place, no alarm, and no drill that required the presence of each man at his station during the voyage?
Well, fire drill did take place, and it always does take place.
Where?
When we have boat drill.
When do you have boat drill?
When we have boat drill.
When you haven't?
Yes.
Would you call this lowering of 2 lifeboats at Southampton boat drill?
No, it was previous to that, sir. There are so many hoses on each deck, and the water service is on, and the hoses are manned by the men, and the commander sends word along. That will do for fire exercise, and then we switch off the water.
Are you quite sure such an exercise took place before the boat reached Southampton?
Let me see. I may be confusing her with some of the other ships.
You are testifying. I want the record to show what you say about it.
Well, we will annul that, sir, because I'm not sure.
You may annul it, but I am not going to. I ask you to answer and give your best judgment.
I am here and doing my best to help you, and I do not remember.
And you wish it to appear that you do not remember whether that took place before reaching Southampton. I do not want to embarrass you, Mr. Lowe, at all, and I will not pursue it any further. I just want to know whether we understand one another.
I do not know, sir. I do not remember anything definite on the subject.
But do you remember, and have stated so, that there was no drill?
No drill after we left Southampton.
No drill after you left Southampton?
No, oh no.
Were these officers strangers to one another, practically all of them?
No, the most of them had met each other before.
Do you remember whether they had in the main come from the same ship or from various ships?
Some of them came from the same ship, but which I do not know. Some of them came from the Oceanic.
Do you know whether the crew were strangers to one another in the main?
The crew, sir?
Yes.
No, I do not know anything about them.
Okay. What was the weather and the condition of the sea between Belfast and Southampton?
Fine weather, smooth sea and gentle breeze.
What was the weather between Southampton and the scene of this accident?
Fine, clear weather, gentle to moderate breeze and sea.
And what was the temperature between Southampton and the place of the accident?
The temperature, sir?
Exactly. Do you know whether it was cold or whether it was warm? Was it warm when you left Southampton?
Yes, it was nice weather. I should say it would be about 48.
Above zero?
Yeah, 48 degrees.
Did it grow colder as you proceeded on your journey?
It did not get colder. I do not know how to put that to my knowledge.
How cold was it on Sunday morning?
Sunday afternoon, it was ordinarily normal, about 48.
How was it on Sunday evening?
Sunday evening, it was pretty much the same. It could not have been less than 45.
Did you hear the second officer testify?
I did, sir, part of it.
Did you hear him say that it was about 37 on Sunday evening?
Well, I went below at 8 o'clock, and I know nothing about anything that happened after 8 o'clock. I was in bed.
Did you know that your ship was off the Grand Banks of Newfoundland on Sunday afternoon and evening?
Yes, I knew where she was as far as that goes, but I had never crossed the Atlantic before.
Did the fact that you were off the Grand Banks of Newfoundland interest you at all?
No, sir, not a bit.
Did you know that that was the region of icebergs and the field ice?
Well, you must understand, I'd never been there before.
You had certainly heard about it.
I cannot say that I had, sir.
You never heard about ice in the vicinity of Newfoundland?
No, sir.
Have you ever heard about ice anywhere?
Yes, off Cape Horn.
Have you ever seen an iceberg or a growler?
I've seen icebergs, but I've never heard them defined as closely as they have been here during the last few days.
And where did you see them?
I've seen them down south.
How far south?
Off Cape Horn and down that way.
Do you know where they are supposed to come from?
I suppose from the South Polar regions.
Did you ever see any icebergs in the South Atlantic?
No, I cannot say that I've seen them in the South Atlantic.
Did you ever see an iceberg except off Cape Horn?
No, sir. That's the only one I saw until daybreak on the Monday morning.
After the accident?
After the accident, yes.
And how many did you see then?
Well, I saw quite a few of them.
Like how many?
I mean, I really could not tell you that. I did not count them, but I should say anywhere up to 20.
How close were they? How close was the closest one? I mean, how close to you, or how close were you to the icebergs?
I should say 4 to 5 miles.
In what direction?
Just all around.
In the course of the Titanic?
What do you mean? In the course that we were steering before we struck?
Yes.
Well, yes, they must have been in our way if they were all along the horizon.
How large was the largest berg you saw?
Well, of course, it's only approximation, sir, because we did not go up to them.
I did not ask you that. Just give us your best judgment.
I should say that the largest one was about, say, 100 feet high above the water.
Above the water's edge?
Above the water.
And that was about 45 miles away, was it, from you? I thought you said 45.
4 to 5, I said.
How far could you see an iceberg above the water on a clear morning?
Depends on your height above the water.
Well, where would you say these icebergs were with reference to your point of observation?
What distance off they were? At my height?
Exactly.
4 to 5.
What do you mean by 4 to 5?
Between 4 and 5 miles distant.
That is between 4 and 5 miles away?
Yes.
Were they all within the range of 4 or 5 miles?
Yes, they were all within a radius at the outside of 6 miles.
Could you, from what you saw of them, tell in what direction they were moving?
No, sir.
Whether from the north or from the south?
No, sir, I could not.
How close did you come to an iceberg yourself? I do not mean the one that collided with the ship, but after you were in the lifeboat or on the Carpathia.
Nearest I got, I suppose, would be 3 miles.
And what were the sizes of the other icebergs?
Anything, I should say, averaging from 20 feet in height up to 100 feet in height. That is above the water.
Have you ever heard, or do you know of your knowledge, how much of an ordinary iceberg is supposed to be submerged?
Yes. There's 1/8 supposed to be above water and 7/8 below water.
Then if the iceberg you saw Monday morning was 100 feet above the water, it would be 700 feet below the water.
Yes, sir, quite that.
Is that recognized?
That is what I learned. I suppose it's right.
And where did you learn that?
At school. I think it will turn out to be about that if you test it.
Did you learn at school where these icebergs were supposed to come from?
Well, there are only 2 places for them to come from.
Name them.
That's from the North Pole and the South Pole, from the polar regions.
They're supposed to come from the Arctic regions?
Yes, the Arctic region.
Do you know what an iceberg is composed of?
Well, ice, I suppose, sir.
Have you ever heard of an iceberg being composed not only of ice, but of rock and earth and other substances?
No, sir, never.
Did you hear the testimony of your fellow officer, Boxhall?
No, sir.
So you did not hear him describe what composed an iceberg?
No, sir.
But you labor under the impression that they are composed entirely of ice.
Oh, absolutely, sir.
You said that you helped make up the chart record, did you not?
Chart record?
Yes, you and your fellow officers worked out the details?
We worked out the positions, yes, sir.
The positions on the chart?
No, sir, we do not use a chart. If we wish to place the position on a chart so that we may know the locality, we may do so, because we have charts there.
You have them there for that purpose?
But we work them out by tables and other things, books.
By these tables, you work out the ship's position?
Yes, sir.
From the astronomical observations?
Yes, sir.
And the course of the ship?
Yeah, we work out the course, too.
Do you determine from these observations whether the ship is on its course?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any part in determining the course and position of the Titanic on Sunday afternoon and evening?
I worked the course from noon until until what we call the corner, that is 42 north, 47 west. I really forget the course now. It's 60 degrees, 33.5 west. That's as near as I can remember, and 162 miles to the corner.
From those data, are you able to say whether the ship was on its true course at the time of the collision?
I do not know, sir. I do not know where she was steaming at the time of the collision. I was in bed.
Do you know what the ship's position was at the time of the accident?
Yes, I know what her position was.
State it.
Latitude 41 degrees, 46 north, and 50 degrees, 13 west longitude.
From the position of the ship at that point stated, are you able to say whether she was on her true course at that time?
Which course is that? To which course do you refer?
I refer to the course the ship was taking, which I understand is a recognized course or lane and well understood by vesselmen and a part of the regulations of your company.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, that is the track.
Now answer my previous question.
Well, you could tell easily, sir, whether she was on the track or not.
I want you to tell me.
I can easily tell.
Well, do it.
Well, I cannot without anything, sir. I must have books.
Have you got a chart so that you can?
I've got nothing.
You say track?
Yes, sir, track.
Are those tracks well understood by mariners, vesselmen?
Yes, everybody knows them, and we all try to go along that track.
How many tracks are there recognized by your company?
I did not know.
In the North Atlantic?
I'm a stranger in this part.
And what is that?
You must remember this is my first voyage across here.
I understand.
And I do not know.
I am not looking for any more information than you have. But I would like to know if you know whether there is a north track and a south track.
Well, yes, sir. There are 2 tracks, a north track and a south track.
I would like to know whether ships going from Southampton to New York on this White Star Line are supposed to take the north track or the south track.
That's left to the commander, sir.
And you do not know?
I do not know.
Do you know whether upon this voyage the Titanic took the north track or the south track?
We can tell if you have a track chart.
I'm going to have you work that out, but I wanted to clear up any confusion over those 2 tracks. As I understand it, through the North Atlantic there is a north track, a lane, or route, and from Southampton to New York.
Yes, sir.
And there's a south track, or lane or route from New York to Southampton?
It is the same track as the one the other way.
What I want to know is whether this ship was on the north track or the south track, and I will ask you to figure that out a little later when you get the chart.
Okay, I think she was on the northern track.
What makes you think so?
Just by the general run of things, but anyhow, we can find that out.
Were you on duty on Sunday evening, the night of the accident?
I was on duty Sunday evening, sir, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., and at 8 p.m. I went below.
Were you on duty again that night to the time of the accident?
I was not, sir.
And where were you assigned? Where was your station during those 2 hours from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock?
From 6 to 8, I was busy working out the slip table, as I told you before, and doing various odds and ends and working a dead reckoning position for 8 o'clock p.m. to hand in to the captain, or the commander of the ship.
What would that indicate?
That was to indicate the position of the ship at that time, at 8 o'clock.
Do you know what the time position of the ship was at 8 o'clock?
No, sir. I do not. I do not remember.
Did you make a report to the captain?
Yeah, I handed him the slip report.
Did you hand it to him personally?
Well, on his chart room table.
Did you call his personal attention to it?
No, we never do. We simply put the slip on the table, put a paperweight or something on it, and he comes in and sees it. It's nothing of any great importance.
Well, what did you do it for?
It has always been done, so that the position of the ship might be filled in the night order book.
Does that not constitute a part of the history of the voyage and become a part of the log?
I'm not saying it was not important for this one voyage. I'm saying in the general run of things, it's not of any importance.
That is, if there's no accident.
Yes, because there are thousands of things done previously.
But in the event of an accident...
Well, yes, it would play an important part then.
You are not able to give the position of this ship at 8 o'clock Sunday evening?
No, sir, I do not remember.
You then went below after you delivered that?
I went to bed at 8 o'clock.
Mr. Lowe, you understand, of course, that if you could give the exact position of that ship at 8 o'clock, with the figures that you have just given of its exact position at the time of the collision, the speed of the ship could be easily ascertained, could it not, between those 2 points?
Quite.
You see what I want it for. I want you to think hard and see if you can give me the ship's position at 8 o'clock. How did you get the position of that ship? You say it was by dead reckoning. How did you get it?
I got it by the chronometer.
Did you first ascertain the speed of the ship?
We have a fair idea of what she's doing.
No, before you could obtain this position, did you first have to ascertain the speed of the ship?
You are speaking of the 8 o'clock position, sir.
Yes.
Her speed from noon until we turned the corner was just a fraction under 21 knots.
You say you took your watch at 6 o'clock Sunday night.
No.
Do not misunderstand me. You went on duty from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock that night.
Oh, yes, that's quite right, sir.
When were you on duty before that, on Sunday?
From noon until 4 p.m.
And off for 2 hours?
Off for 2 hours and then on again.
You have fixed the position, or did fix the position, of that ship at 8 o'clock p.m.?
At 8 p.m., yes, sir.
And you did report that to the captain of the ship?
Yes, sir.
What speed did you use in getting the 8 p.m. position?
I used the speed for the position at 8 o'clock, and I got it by dividing the distance from noon to the corner by the time that by the time that had elapsed from noon until the time we were at the corner.
Were you to fix the position accurately by taking the speed that was made by that ship at noon?
Within a mile or two.
Why did you not take the revolutions at 8 p.m.?
Why should we take the revolutions?
In order to be accurate.
Do you mean to say you would be more accurate than I am?
You're the man that is making the statement. I want to know whether you fixed the position of the ship at 8 o'clock Sunday night upon the speed of the ship at noon on Sunday, or upon the speed of the ship at noon at the time you gave her position.
You may be out just as much or mere by the revolutions as I am by the hour, that is, by dead reckoning, the way I ascertain the position of the ship at 8 p.m.
In order to ascertain the ship's position accurately at 8 p.m., you must know her speed at 8 p.m., must you not?
Her speed at 8 p.m.?
Yes.
If you take the average speed from 12 to 6, that is, giving her a run of 6 hours, she will not jump up in 2 hours. From 12 to 6 o'clock, from that average speed, you have 6 hours in there to take a mean on.
Suppose the captain of your ship, between the hours of 4 and 6 o'clock on Sunday, when you were off duty, had, because of information which had come to him from the steamship Californian, that he was in the vicinity of icebergs, ordered the ship to slow down. Then would your point of figuring be accurate?
He ordered the ship to slow down, you say?
No, I'm not going to have you get confused. I will have the reporter read the question. Suppose the captain of your ship between the hours of 4 and 6 o'clock on Sunday, when you were off duty, had, because of information which had come to him from the steamship Californian that he was in the vicinity of icebergs, ordered the ship to slow down, then would your point of figuring be accurate?
Well, the junior officer that I relieved would have passed on the word to me before I relieved him, before I relieved the ship.
But you had means, had you not, of ascertaining definitely how fast the ship was going?
In what way, sir? We have the log.
No, between 6 and 8 o'clock.
We have the log.
I am not finding fault with you. Perhaps you were entirely right about it when you took the average speed of this ship that day, or the maximum speed. But inasmuch you said she never had attained her maximum speed.
No, sir, she never had.
And inasmuch as you did not take the revolutions, I wonder whether you were strictly accurate when you defined the ship's position at 8 o'clock.
As I told you, sir, we were working at our slip table, and that is a table based upon so many revolutions of engine and so much percent slip. And you work that out, and it gives you so many miles per hour. This table extended from the rate of 30 revolutions a minute to the rate of 85, and from a percentage of 10 to 40% slip. That is minus. We were working it all out, and of course it was not finished.
Let us see if we understand one another. The position of the ship at 8 o'clock could be ascertained by astronomical observations and the speed of the ship and the speed that the ship was going. Is that right?
No, sir, you do not really need that. You only need that for dead reckoning position.
That is what you said you gave.
Yes, but we are speaking of observations now. Observations and dead reckonings are very different.
If you had your report here, the report you made to the captain, I would not be so particular about this because I would accept your report, as the captain probably accepted it if you heard no complaints about it. But I have not got that report. The report is not available. Therefore, if you will just tell me how you got it, or if you have already told it, I will desist, and I will not press it any further.
This is the only figuring that is required to get the speed.
Are you able to say that the speed at that time was 21 knots?
21 knots or under. It was really 20.95 about. If the speed had been increased or reduced during the interval when I was off duty, I would have been informed of it.
It would have been very important that you should be informed of it.
We are informed of all. Whether there is an altering of the course, we say she's doing so-and-so and so-and-so. All right, then you are relieved.
I want to take you back just a moment to your statement that ordinarily that report would not be very valuable.
What report is not? About altering the speed?
No, about this 8 o'clock report you made.
No, sir. Under ordinary circumstances, it would not be important.
But to provide accurate information, should accident arise, that is part of the regulations and part of time duty?
No, it is the White Star Line routine. The White Star Company have regulations, just the same, in fact, as the Navy, and we all know exactly what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and where to do it. Everybody knows his business, and they do it. There's no hitch in anything.
Wow, the senator is working really hard to trip this guy up.
The senator is on one today. I think he woke up on the wrong side of the bed immediately. Face the reporter.
Yeah.
We didn't hear that for anybody else.
No.
We're on day 5.
I've never seen him fluster anybody as much as this guy.
There's locking horns like from the jump.
And this guy knows what he's doing. I mean, he's very proud of his skills as a mariner.
Well, I think that's all he knows.
It's coming really into question with this.
And he doesn't you can sense that he really doesn't like that, and that he is proud of doing his job, and it definitely has that sort of union mentality of this is my job. That was not my job. So I'm doing
how would
this.
I know?
And we all, well, how would I know that? That's not my job.
So you're saying you don't care to know that? It's just so
You say
crazy.
You could do it better than me?
I'm thinking I could. So it's just, and I don't know if the senator's confused.
I think
and
that's
what's confusing, or if he's trying to confuse Mr. Lowe.
Yeah.
Because I've seen him try to confuse others, but...
Yeah, I think he's a little confused, but I think also Mr. Lowe is but you can understand where he's coming from. He's new to the job. Well, not new to the ship, not new to sailing, but he's new to this ship. He doesn't know anybody. He's new to this track. He's just learning as he goes. He's working on his stuff. But I would be the same. Like, I would miss those dates. I would say, oh, yeah, it was April, 21st.
Good point.
Meaning it's March. Like,
yeah.
The
more flustered I am, yeah.
And I don't know the dates. And then also, like, without my books and my calculations, like, I can't give that to you. And of course I'm not going to remember that number because I give him numbers every time I'm done on my watch. It's not something I'm locking in my brain.
And without knowing anybody, he hasn't been able to converse about this with anybody.
Yeah.
Like the others all have. Like, oh man, and remember that? And without that, you can get really discombobulated. And I have to, just a real quick, I love when they give their ages, that it's always what they're going to be and when. Nobody's like, proud. He's not 28. No, he's 29 in the fall. And every single one has done that, what they will be rather than what they are.
It's very cute. I think also, like,
it warms my heart.
He's like a little kid in a way, because he ran away at 14 and just started on the ships and has been there ever since. And, I mean, you can also tell, as much as whatever opinions we have for Senator Smith, that you can tell right away that this guy's going to be gruff. Because, well, of course I ran away.
Obviously.
I'm not working for free, so of course I ran away.
And he's so proud of that, that he did it, and he made it on his own. And I'm not apprenticing you. I'm better than that.
He tried taking me to all these offices, and I said no.
And then I ran.
Yep.
He didn't chase.
And then it's very, also though, it seems like his job is like very specific and mathematical. And I could understand maybe that he doesn't, he's not going to, there's no room for anything else then. If he's got, and I sort of forget too that this is so long ago, obviously they don't have a GPS or machinery that they have to like look at the stars.
But even still, he'd have to look at his GPS to tell where they were. Let me look back on my GPS.
And then they have to make all these calculations, and that's a little bit mind-blowing to me that, they were still able to do these things so accurately with nothing, with just looking up at the stars.
And it's so impressive, and I don't understand the conflict between these two gentlemen.
But Senator Smith's over it. This is day 5.
Mr. Lowe is really trying to be...
does not like to be challenged.
But he's trying to be by the book, and he's trying to do it, but you can see he's just getting all up.
I have a lot of empathy for him, because I feel like... I tell stories the way he does. He's giving a lot of information that we don't need, like when you check the boats. Oh, that is to say, if we had 6 oars and then 2 broke, then we've got the 2 spare, so it makes 8 in total.
But if we had 4...
But if there was a complement of 12, then this would be...
That does sound like you.
A lot of extra detail.
And but then when he doesn't give the detail... Senator Smith asked for it. But if he does, then he's like, I don't need, I'm not asking you for everything. I just want to know this.
There's a lot of interrupting from both sides in this one.
I've never seen such animosity.
And I just feel like Senator Smith has got, maybe it's because we're reading it and we're putting our own tones, but I don't think so. I think we're accurate in his personality, but I think that he really doesn't respect this guy and his sort of, I'm not trying to embarrass you, buddy. I just, like, don't worry.
So this is right after he read that, made that
his statement too.
I'm
so he
sick
is
of this
angry.
Nonsense, and
that's right. That's why he's
and like, I'm not trying to embarrass you. So obviously somebody said something about him embarrassing people, because he brought that up several times in a short conversation.
That's true, and we hadn't heard it from him before with anybody else. So that's right. I forgot about the statement.
So that could have something to do with
He might be getting some lashings.
Attitude, but and he's and he doesn't want to. Maybe he's done with it. Done with this nonsense.
Oh, I would be. Could you imagine?
But I wouldn't want to be the poor guy.
And then in the with the press and everything. And such a big, like, high headline disaster, the unsinkable ship, and now it sank. How did it happen? And then all of a sudden, Senator, you're Senator Smith, and here's your trial.
And you better ask the right questions.
It's called a ship, not a boat.
Yeah.
Here you go.
That was funny. Okay.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Leave on a high note.
I'm looking forward to see what else he's got to say.
Yep, and we're out.
As always, thank you for listening. Please be sure to let us know what you're thinking in the comments or at titanictranscripts@gmail.com. Also, be sure to check out our Facebook page, Titanic Transcripts, for more interesting tidbits and general discussion.
Thank you.